Hello, this is Dr. Garrett Castleberry, Program Director for Communication, Media, and Ethics here at Mid-America Christian University. And I am here to present our Week 4 Q&A lecture, and it's part of our ongoing asynchronous dialogue where students submit rich and thoughtful discussion questions based upon readings, and I attempt to provide a little more context and insight into how our readings tie together, as well as hopefully some direction for what the authors mean in any given reading we are working through, or idea or theory or method that happens for us. So today we are reflecting back on Week 4, and the readings there include Chapter 3 of Marcel Danisi's Popular Culture Introductory Perspectives, and Chapter 3 specifically is about the business of popular culture. And anytime we get into the business, we start to tear down those make-believe ideas we have about culture and how maybe innocent it is or special or what have you. And we look at the other side of culture, right? What some call the culture industry, even. And so, well, understanding that term has several connotative meanings. We will also pull a little bit from Writing Well in the 21st Century, your questions, as we continue to move along in that book, and hopefully it's providing that rich feedback necessary to help us on that road to becoming stronger writers, so that we can locate our voice, right? And welcome, be invitational for others to hear us and our message. Let me jump right into our questions, and working through our submission pages chronologically. We will start with a couple from Megan Denon, and Megan is, let's see, let me jump ahead to the Danisi questions, have the broadest application for us, and some pop culture references that we can play around with. First, Megan notes that Danisi uses Hello Kitty when referencing toy fads from page 78, which is a pop culture icon that I referenced in an earlier post regarding the globalization of popular culture. At what point does something move beyond a fad? First question. Does it ever escape this label? In other words, do fads ever escape their label as fad? Hello Kitty has been popular for decades, making it more iconic than fad-like, in my opinion. I think this is a great opinion, Megan, in that it is the users, it is the consumers, it is the fans of popular culture that help determine when and if something moves past a fad-like phase or stage into something else. And a lot of you picked up on that theme of fads this week, so it's exciting to see the through line of critical thinking on your part, and we'll try to do our best to disseminate between the two. But one of the best ways we can think about it is fads are elements of popular culture, right? Fads are these microbursts of social influence and popularity, and the idea behind them is if it's a fad, though, it burns out rather fast. I think there's some room for healthy deliberation on the Hello Kitty front, if only because I have a close friend in an academic, someone spent time in grad school with, that is overboard with Hello Kitty interest, and it kind of has what we call a close nostalgia with, right? A passion, a fandom, and a point of identification. Hello Kitty used as avatars on social media, as GIFs, okay? And so not just the merchandising end, but how we translate that into the digital realm, the social media expressions. And so Hello Kitty might be one of those threshold pieces of culture that's possibly transferring over. Now, at the same time, I think back on it, and fact check me if I'm wrong. There's not a lot of there's not a Hello Kitty film franchise. Okay, at least we got a couple of films out of SpongeBob, even though, you know, his moment is kind of past somewhat. It was a larger cultural footprint, at least in the U.S. Now, Hello Kitty, we huge overseas. Oh, I did it. And but we can recognize that when something kind of strikes hot and catches a moment, but then recedes really relatively quickly, we locate that as a fad. And so something you can think about as, you know, fad-like versus iconic, or, you know, iconicity, is longevity. Okay, so longevity, keep that in mind when thinking about if something it should be recognized as a fad or not. Staying power, its ability to consistently maintain a presence, whether it's a physical presence, a digital presence, more of a collective conscious presence in popular culture. And also, this new term we're playing with in this class, spreadability. Okay, is it spreadable? Has the artifact in relation to the fad, the substance of which the fad is represented, does it operate with a more contemporary spreadability model? Is it sticky? Does it have that stickiness factor? And so, in other words, does it have spreadability across generations? So, a counter example to maybe Hello Kitty, and I'm not trying to, there's a little bit of apples and oranges here, but I think of Pokemon, right? And so these are two types of imports that audience, consumers, fan cultures embraced here, but we see one generate greater amounts of capital, cultural capital, and economic gains, and also more lucrative success on the financial end and on the franchising end, media franchising. Pokemon still around, and it's continuing to find ways to innovate and update with the times and locate thus new audiences. So that's one way, spreadability across generations. I hate to do it, but I think about an artifact that comes to mind that's also like Hello Kitty, kind of straddles that threshold between fad and iconic popular culture memorabilia, is He-Man and He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This was a white hot property throughout the early to mid 80s, and like that, the sales from year to year in its final year of production just plummeted. And there are a couple of factors we can explore. Competition, right, in the toy industry, in the animated syndicated cartoon industry, lots of competition for space, but something about its inability to pick back up in a grand way, okay, is a reason that we don't see as much of a footprint, a cultural footprint, from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. All right. Although you can, of course, you Google this and go on eBay and find some old figures, any price range really. Megan also comments that in the same vein of global pop culture, Danisi briefly mentions the musical artist Psy in his viral song Gangnam Style. I can't do it. I don't have the space really, right, to just break into that full expression here. But this is an example of what the author calls a nano celebrity. Given the Gangnam Style given that it was in Korea and largely not understood by its American fan base, what do you believe was the cause of its success? And do you think we will continue to see a rise in global pop culture despite language and cultural barriers? And I think the important thing to understand in the internet age, in the digital age, is that the world is a stage, or a digital stage, right? Someone said that. All right, I'm paraphrasing someone. All the world's a stage. Do we know what that reference is? Have we heard it, but we still can't identify the author? Think about that. Don't cheat. Don't Google it. If you don't know it, you'll have to Google it. Even the term, right? To Google something, like transforming a noun into a verb. It's popular culture. It's shifts and evolutions in language and use. But the world stage will see these microbursts of nanoculture, all right? And so you'll have an occasional viral video, different things from different places, and that's going to catch fire. It's just a matter of if and when and for how long it would here more locally. However, what we are likely to see over time is American consumers piecemealing options, or possibly becoming more isolationist in our pop culture selections. And so what you'll find is probably tensions between how much we want to embrace other cultures versus resistance, right? Or that superiority complex of believing, hey, our entertainment factory, Hollywood, right? It produces the superior product, so there's no way I should be consuming the inferior product. And this takes us back to that debate about high-low culture. But I've had students in the past, many students over the years, huge manga fans, and they're preferring that to American comic books, graphic novels, sequential art, and so you're going to find that you're going to find pockets of support if the content is of quality. So that's something that ties into our writing well. There was a question about finding our voice and how much do we embrace our own voice versus adhere to stylistic rules and guidelines, and ultimately you always want to be shooting for a healthy balance. You want to cultivate your own writing style or writing voice, but we gain audience and we gain access to those next levels. We gain legitimacy by following whatever stylistic guidelines are practiced by the norms, by the examples we seek to join up with. And then it's within those boundaries that we can learn to innovate and change up. Okay, let me jump over to Destiny. Destiny Jackson has some questions here, some commentary. What is our author meaning when Denise says, quote, "This also means that the shelf life of a trend, such as a popular song, will become shorter and shorter," end quote. Do you agree with this statement? Coming out page 69 of the popular culture text. And yes, to an extent, we do agree with this. Basically, we can break down this quotation by suggesting that what's likely to happen is we will forget faster. These songs and artists, musicians will become less iconic because there's likely to be such an influx, and the volume is likely to roll over at such a level. And so, do we agree with this? Yes, we agree that the shelf life of trends such as popular songs will become shorter and shorter. Let me ask a question. This is rhetorical, obviously. How many of you have ever seen an episode of MASH? Have you heard of that? How many of you have seen an episode of Dallas? Okay, or could you tell the difference between Beethoven or Bach? If you heard it, would you know? Each of these used to be commonplace fixtures in popular culture, in collective conscious, for many generations, and is for all the up and comers. So much of this is lost, right? Kind of becoming lost to time. There's so much more. Instead, something might have formerly been very familiar, and now we're more familiar with Charlie bit my finger, right, or whatever. And I might not even, I'm not claiming to know that by heart, but it speaks to shifts and changes and patterns in culture. Okay, so interesting insights so far. We got a lot on deck to get through. Look forward to more questions coming up.